NFL draft nerds, welcome in. 3 days of Senior Bowl practices have come and gone. Senior Bowl practices in the books. Obviously, you're going to have the Senior Bowl actual game on Saturday. For NFL teams, a lot of this has been about obviously getting these guys in different positions than you were able to see them in during their collegiate careers. Getting to know their personalities more, getting more background, having all the dialogue and communication between all the different teams, front offices, scouts, etc. But for me, it's all about what we see on tape and what we see on the broadcast. I'm not there, so I am watching tape. I am watching the broadcast, and I'm going to get into my top prospects from the Senior Bowl this week. The guys that consistently every single day we're a step ahead of the competition. And so fired up to get into it. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, it is all NFL draft all the time here at Rogue Football. So please hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know in the comment section who you're fired up about from Senior Bowl practices this week. We're going to start out with the defensive line. And there might not have been a more dominant performer than Darius Alexander, who was absolutely unblockable out of Toledo. I love this guy's game, and I was a big fan of him coming into the week. He did nothing to disappoint. You know, almost 6'4", came in over 300 pounds at 304 pounds. Big hands, 34-inch arms, explosive as heck off the ball. He was pretty much unblockable, and he lined up in a lot of different spots across the defensive front. Nobody could handle Darius Alexander. So, absolutely, maybe the star of the show. You talk about Walter Nolan. I thought he did a really good job as a pass rusher. We knew that coming in, right? And he was pretty much unblockable in one-on-one drills as a pass rusher. There's no question about that. I think what you want to see him to continue to improve is the run defense, right? I think that when you draft him, clear pass rushing situations, he's going to be an absolute menace. It's about what he can give you outside of that. Now, Joshua Farmer continued to impress throughout the 3 days. I think the defensive lineman out of Florida State absolutely helped himself, showed explosiveness, length, and power, and a relentless motor. So good for him. And the guy who I was most surprised about, because I had not popped on the tape yet, was Junior Tafuna out of Utah. And this is a guy that, he doesn't look like the biggest defensive lineman out there, right? But he's 6'3", he's 303 pounds, he has big hands, he has 32 and 7/8 inch arms, so basically 33-inch arms. He's got the size you need, really, when you're looking at it, and he was unblockable. He has a bag of pass rush moves. He's physical, he's aggressive, he's explosive off the ball. This is someone I can't wait to pop on the tape for, because to me, he was one of the most impressive defensive linemen, and he did it against some of the offensive linemen that were having the best weeks. So shout out to Junior Tafuna out of Utah, having a fantastic week. At edge, Femi Oladejo popped for me every single day. The UCLA linebacker turned edge. He's got length, he's got athleticism, he's got explosiveness, brings the energy. He was winning in one-on-ones and making plays every single day. So I thought that was really impressive for another guy who I hadn't watched coming into the week. David Walker is someone who I did have eyes on, and I don't want to say that he dominated throughout the week, but he absolutely had a good 3-day practice session, and he capped it off incredibly today in one-on-ones. I thought David Walker out of Central Arkansas was pretty much unblockable in one-on-ones, and you saw this guy has such a unique build, a unique profile. He's 6 foot and 5/8, so close to 6'1", 267 pounds. That's 6'1", and 31 and 3/4 arms. So he's undersized from a height standpoint and a length standpoint, but he has plenty of mass on his frame, and he is explosive as heck. And he had a bag of pass rush moves. You saw the ability to win through the chest. You saw the ability to win on the outside arc. He's an impressive player, and I don't know that he's ever going to be a full-time starter in the NFL, but he's got a lot of skill. You talk about Princely Umanmiel, and he impressed all 3 days. He, for my money, is the most complete prospect at edge in Mobile this week. 6'4", 264 pounds, 34-inch arms, all the athleticism, the pass rush bag, the ability to play the run at a high level and be physical, set the edge. He showed off everything this week. He wasn't maybe not the most consistent in terms of every single rep in one-on-one, but he showed the ability to do absolutely everything out there. And You did not see Donovan Ezraku out there today. He didn't play today. Neither did Jamar Stewart, but those guys obviously stood out as well. Interior offensive line. I think there was only one prospect who like dominated, dominated on the interior, which is Gray Zabel. So impressed every single day. Gray Zabel brought it at an extremely high level. So he has the ability to mirror movements on the inside with those interior defenders. Not as easy against edge players, right? When he was playing tackle at North Dakota State, but you kick him inside to center or guard, which is what he was doing this week, and playing against guys that are more similar size to him, some are a little bigger than him, but great mirroring ability, a really strong base. Hands are on point. He's never oversetting either way. He's able to move laterally incredibly well. Plays with great leverage. Gets up under your pads. I think Gray Zabel, he and Darius Alexander, I didn't see them go up against each other much. I don't know if I just missed that or what, but those may be the two most impressive guys from this whole week for me, and they both were on the interior of offensive line and defensive line, respectively. But he's not the only interior offensive lineman that stood out. I thought Miles Frazier, Anthony Belton when he was playing guard, Clay Webb, Jack Slater, those guys really, and also Jalen Rivers, those guys really stood out to me. They weren't as clean as our guy out of North Dakota State, Gray Zabel, but they all played really well. Just not quite as clean. Now at wide receiver, wide receiver is such a silly. The way that these guys are running routes out there is just totally unrealistic. They're taking like 10, 15 steps to get out of their release, which is just, that's not football. I mean, that's not NFL football. That's like street ball, right? It's not real. So take it as you will. But, to me, Tez Johnson, I still think he's uncoverable out of the slot. I don't know how NFL teams are going to deal with him. I don't care that he's 156 pounds. Unbelievable speed, quickness, agility, and a natural knack for route running as well and catching the football. Like he's not just this guy that has unbelievable speed. Like he is a real receiver prospect. So Tez Johnson for sure. Xavier Restrepo, he stood out. His ability to pace and cut on a dime, pretty special. Great ball skills, great football player. I think he's going to be a special slot receiver as well. I think Kyle Williams has the ability to do that too. I think he stood out consistently. The Iowa State kids, they did great. Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins, one of my guys in this draft class, no doubt about it, at 6'4", 215 pounds. The way he moves at that size and the physicality he can bring is pretty special. And then Jack Besh, who maybe a power slot, maybe just a utility guy, a guy you use in a lot of different ways at the receiver position, brings the physicality, brings the effort every single play. And he was able to create a lot of separation today, come down with a lot of big time catches, and just a guy I think you're going to want on your football team. At tight end, I think it's clear that Elijah Arroyo is the most talented dude out there from a physical standpoint, over 250 pounds with great length, and the way he moves at that size is special. And his ball skills, he has really solid hands, but the way he's able to run routes and route you up as a big boy at over 250 pounds is really something else. And then Mason Taylor, who is Jason Taylor's son, one of the smoothest tight end prospects you're going to find. Focused hands, good route runner, maybe not the crazy athlete that Elijah Arroyo is, like the crazy size, athleticism combo, but I think he's going to be a really solid player in the NFL for a long time, Mason Taylor is, and he brings it as a run blocker as well. At quarterback, nobody was like unbelievable. I do think Jalen Milroe had his best day on the final day, but to me, Tyler Shough is clearly the top quarterback here from a readiness standpoint, just arm talent, confidence. He looked really good out there for the most part out of Louisville. So, and he is an older prospect, so you would expect some confidence. But this is a guy that I think teams are going to have on their radar if they're looking at maybe trying to get a later mid to late round quarterback that actually has a chance to play in the league, or at least be a really valuable backup. I think that could be your guy right there. And I think Dylan Gabriel can be a really valuable backup as well. I just don't think he has the physical tools to be a starter. I think there's just too many limitations with Dylan Gabriel. Jalen Milroe, he's going to be a big swing. Whoever takes a swing on him, it's going to be really fascinating to follow his career. At cornerback, I loved what Upton Stout brought all 3 days. So physical. He's undersized. He is undersized. At 5'8", something like that. 5'8" and a quarter, 178 pounds. He does have, over 30-inch arms, which a lot of teams kind of talk about that as the threshold for being able to play outside. But, whether some team drafts him to play at nickel, play outside, I think he's going to be able to do it. I think that he's going to be able to play at a high level in the NFL. And you talk about Maxwell Harrison, who I think had a little injury. He didn't play today either, but he stood out. So did Trey Amos. Those are the top corners here, clearly, in my opinion. And Upton Stout out of Western Kentucky had a hell of a week. Shamar James, the linebacker out of Florida, I thought was the top linebacker out here, especially on day 3. He was all over the place. I mean, in one-on-one coverage against Trevor Etienne, he showed the ability to stick with him. Former teammates at the University of Florida, by the way, and rivals, Florida and Georgia, certainly. But Shamar James, he was all over the place. Again, whether it's pass coverage, whether it was filling gaps against the run, flying to the sideline, making sure he's denying a throwing lane, coming downhill against a screen. Shamar James had a really great day overall, I thought. And then the running backs that really stood out to me, Damian Martinez, we talked about. You can go back and check out yesterday's show, or I've talked about him a lot. So I'm going to talk about a couple other guys a little bit more here. Trevor Etienne, who I mentioned as the former Florida Gator, Georgia Bulldog, brother of, obviously, Travis Etienne, the Jaguars running back. This is a guy that probably a 1B in the league, or split backfield, right? But at 5'8", I believe, 200-ish pounds. Let's see what he officially came in at. Yeah, so 5'8.5", 202 pounds. Not the biggest dude out there, right? But he moves different. He just moves different. He's got more explosiveness and more juice, both vertically and laterally, than a lot of these guys out there. And the other guy who I think also has that same level of juice is RJ Harvey. He has, really springy, bouncy feet, and he's about 5'8", 207 pounds. I think these two guys are going to, in this modern NFL, be very dynamic ball carriers wherever they end up landing, and be able to kind of break some games open, be very productive. I don't know that they're going to be 20-plus touch guys, but, get them the ball maybe 10, 15 times a game, get them the ball out of the backfield. They're going to be playmakers for your offense, and they're going to be big-time assets for whichever team ends up picking them up. So that'll do it here. Really appreciate y'all tuning in to our Senior Bowl coverage here at Rogue Football. Again, if you're about the draft, you're in the right spot. Hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know who you're fired up about from the Senior Bowl in the comment section below, and y'all have a good one.